Hey guys, Mike from Missouri, back on the case 1840. Last video, I rebuilt these, well I should say resealed these hydraulic motors, and I finally got them painted. And let me give you a close-up of what we got going on so you can see how they turned out. So this is the one that did not have the wear on the end of the shaft. This one we had to put the bushing on, but I got them all painted up, new seals all inside, everything looks great. Now I'm going to get them installed on the skid steer, and I was looking at the installation instruction that shows to use a moly coat lube for the splines, which I did order. So we're going to use that, and then we're going to put some sealant around this centering flange, and that'll seal the motor from leaking the gear oil out of the chain case. Okay, I'm just going to set this down in here temporarily. Well, I got to get the chain back on this sprocket. All right, took me a little while off camera. I finally got it on. So I'll prepare the motor with that moly coat. Put a bead of silicone around this. Okay. Now I can't remember which way the hoses need to go. Alright, I checked some pictures that I took, and it definitely has the hoses pointed at a downward angle. We're going to go with that right there. Well, what a pain. Like there's much pain in it. All right. right, come over here, helper. Yep, hold that. Okay, don't let it turn. We gotta torque it. 120. Oh, hold it up here. Don't let it turn. You got it?
I won't.
Yep, there you go. You got it now. Oh, get it back on there square. Okay, you got it? Hold it tight. There we go. Okay, let's go to the bottom one. Can you get to the bottom one? Put it on there flat.
It's on there.
Okay, you got it? Don't let it pinch your hands against the frame. You got it?
Yep.
Tell me if you can't hold it. Oh. Hold on, it's not done. You ready?
Yep.
Don't let it pinch it on the frame. Okay. Okay, go to the next one up.
This one?
Yep, right there.
And pull this way.
Yep, you'll feel it move. Okay, go to the back one, the one we haven't done yet.
The last one.
Tell me when you get it on there.
It's on.
Okay, good job, bud.
Well, I did the best on that one.
You did good. Okay. Well, this is going a little easier now that I got a helper. Get this molly coat on here.
Looks gray. But it's kind of like a black though.
Yep. It's got molybdenum, I think it's called, in it. It's like a...
Substance.
Yeah, it's a substance. Anti-friction substance.
Does anti-friction mean like a lot?
Means it's slippery.
Oh,
Okay. Hopefully this one goes in a little easier than the other one.
yeah. And it was crazy to see how big that engine was. It took from here back.
The engine?
Yeah.
Yep, it's a big one.
It took from here back.
So,
And then like there's a radiator in the back and everything.
okay. Oh, you know what? We forgot the bolts. All right, hang out. You want to help me with this one again, bud?
Yeah, but it's gonna get clean.
Okay, you know how to put some of these bolts in?
No.
Just put the bolt in. Now I'll put the nut on the other side. No, not with that. We're not ready for that yet.
Okay. I didn't know what to do with that.
Gotta get these bolts tight before the silicone skims over.
What does
Yeah,
skims over mean?
And it kind of gets dry, and then it doesn't want to bond. All right, now we're gonna just get them somewhat tightened up. All right, last one. Now we can torque them. Okay, just like last time. Tell me which one you're gonna go on. Top one? Okay. Yeah, get a good hold on it.
Which way do I go? Do I pull
You'll
this
find
way?
out when it starts moving. There you go now. Now which one? Let's go to the bottom. You're supposed to do the opposite.
Just a minute. It's wait.
Tell me when it's on.
It's on. What?
Got it?
Yeah.
Don't get your arm in that silicone. Okay, let's go to the next one up. Yep.
No, yeah, this one.
Okay, got it?
But I thought you're supposed to do opposite.
Well, all right. Okay, other side. Okay, ready?
Oh wait, Daddy.
What?
I realized I was pulling it this way.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. They're not spinning. You're just there just in case. All right, nice job. We got the motors on now. All right. Well, guys, I want to get this side cover on, but before I do that, I gotta adjust the chain. And I've been holding out from painting this because I want to get it all, this hub in the right spot before I paint everything. I went ahead and probably been about a month now. The separator plate is sealed to the frame, and then that O-ring will allow you, right behind this, will allow you to slide this back and forth. And I don't have the adjuster, and I don't want to run to the hardware store right now, so I'm going to try to do it just by doing that, and I'll put the adjusters in later. I'm going to see if this little gun will take these loose. And you're just going to loosen these enough so that's the whole thing is slide. You guys can hear I still got my little helper out here. There we go. So 1/2 inch of deflection is what is supposed to be appropriate. Kind of hard to. We're going to call that good. I'm going to do the front. Oh, I forgot to hit the record button, but I got this. I put the old adjuster in here, and it pushed it forward no problem. Got that adjusted correctly, so this side's ready to put this bearing plate on. All right, my son's been dying to do something all by himself, so we're going to see how he goes with this. All right, Andrew. These are the gaskets that go on before. No, they're not wooden. They're made out of like a fiber paper. Yep. Don't rip them. Don't rip them. You know, it's probably going to be better if we put it on this thing. Be careful. Don't rip it. Well, let's put it on this first, actually. Okay, move so that people can see in the camera. Okay. Now line up your holes. Keep going. Okay, now, what do you got to do with this shaft? Got to get that shaft right in there, right? Okay. Got it? There you go. Is the shaft aligned? Okay, move over. Let me see.
It's on a downward angle.
Oh, yep, it is. There we go. Now what do you need to do? Move over here so they can see the camera.
A washer and a bolt.
And a nut. Stay on this side. Okay, stay on this side. I can't see. Those gloves are a little too big for you, aren't they?
Yeah, but I would rather my hands clean than dirty. I think this
Turn it to the right. So we're just going to use these old nuts just to hold it on while we paint it, and then I'm going to replace these with new washers. And what do we do when we tighten these up? We're going to go opposite, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'm missing a nut. Okay, run these in just a little. Okay, go to the bottom one. All right, now that one. Okay. Oh, you don't have it on there. Nut's kind of messed up, isn't it? Here, let's switch that nut around. The bottom of that is it's flared out from having it in the hole. There you go. Go in that one.
This one?
Yep. Okay, now go on all of them just real lightly. All right. What do you think of that?
It's good.
All right.
It goes here.
There's a plug that goes there, but we'll put a little oil on that before we put the plug in. All right. All right, bud. Now you're going to oil that needle roller in there. Do you see it in there?
That?
No, not in the center of the shaft, down on the rollers.
I don't see a needle roller.
See all those little round things all the way around it?
So do I just
squirt?
squirt?
Yep, squirt. There you go. Get another one right up there. There you go. That should be good. Now, you want to put the plug in?
Yeah.
Put the plug in.
I always do.
All right. All right. So, now you're going to run this. Get that started first. Get it started before you push the button. There you go. A little bit more. A little bit more. Oh, the battery's dead, isn't it? Go a little bit more. Hang on, just wait a minute. Yeah, that's enough. All right, very good. All right, it's the following day. I made a little bit of progress here. I didn't record it because it's exactly the same as the other side. Adjusted both of these hubs. Got this plate on it, and I'm gonna clean everything up now and give this a primer coat, and then once I'm done with that, I'll bring you back. All right, not too bad. Pretty happy with how that turned out. So now that we have the motors installed and the priming all done, we need to move on to more of the hydraulics. Need to get some of these pieces that mount here. This is a loader control valve, and this is the check valve block assembly. We're going to be working on that next. All right, guys, got some more hydraulic stuff I'm working on. Got this piece in the house, and it's called the relief valve block, and it's mounted on the right rear on the inside of the hydraulic tank. 2 bolts here bolt it to the tank, and it draws oil right through this O-ring, and it handles the distribution of all the low side pressure of the machine, the hydraulic filter return, the return from the loader control valves, the return through the oil cooler. And I've been looking at this diagram trying to see exactly what each one does, and I broke all these fittings loose outside, but this is basically the returns from the control valve, the loader control valve, and this is the, let's see, number 2. This supplies fluid to the hydraulic filter, and then let's see, this is the case drain return, so it comes from the 2 wheel motors. Any bypass fluid comes back into here. This lower port comes from the oil cooler, and the side port hydraulic filter return. And kind of not only does it distribute the fluid, a return fluid, and direct it where it needs to go, there's some check valves that are screwed into the bottom of this thing. And they're, from what I can tell, 2 of them are 5 psi. So these two are 5 psi, and this one's 175. This one is opens if the oil cooler becomes restricted, and these two have having difficulty figuring out their exact purpose. It does say that the number 7 is one of them's the case drain check valve, and I think it basically puts a little bit of pressure on the charge pump before it lets it go back into the oil reservoir. But if you know better exactly what those do, leave me a comment below. I don't really need to know exactly how it all functions because I didn't have any problem I really needed to diagnose. What I'm really doing today is I need to take all this apart, clean everything out, replace the O-rings, just clean it up in general, and get it all back together. I did mark everything when I took the machine apart and took a bunch of pictures of where all these zip ties, hit the camera, where all these zip ties came from. So I will be able to get them back on where I need to. So I'm just going to start by unscrewing all these parts. Like I said, I broke this all loose outside. Most of these are all, it's a O-ring boss with the O-ring, and then they're all flare on the other end. And I got a O-ring boss replacement O-ring kit. I should be able to get all these replaced just from that kit. And then I want to keep these in order because they are different. Put these two which are close together. So there it goes. This valve block says Waterman Hydraulics. There's 2 different valve bodies that can be supplied to the machine. I think the other one's made by Sterling. And I'm going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and clean this whole thing off real well. Alright, I washed it off, and it's a lot better than it was. There's more work to be done. These are drill passages that are plugged off for when they made the block. I don't see any reason to take them out because they weren't leaking, but I do want to clean all the dirt out of the Allen heads there. Well, I pretty much have this thing cleaned up the way I want it. I'm going to set it aside for now, and I'm going to focus my attention on each one of these fittings, just cleaning them up and putting new O-rings on them to where I can get ready to put this block all the way back together and be confident it's not going to leak anywhere. Well, it's taken me about 45 minutes to clean all of these fittings up. Wire brushed them, used steel wool, rinsed them, before I install them, I'll put them through the ultrasonic cleaner. But now I need to focus my attention to these check valves. And like I said, these are spring loaded. There's an O-ring top and bottom. You can push the little doohickey in. These two, the spring is about the same tension, and this is the one for the let's see, oil cooler bypass, and it's significantly stiffer. So I'm gonna clean these up the same way as I did this other stuff, is wire brush them, but I'm gonna put a little bit more care into trying to keep stuff out of this valve. But I'll bring you back when I get those cleaned up. Well, I'm looking real good on all these check valves. Cleaned them inside and out real thoroughly. Got new O-rings. There's a sealing O-ring on the base, and then one up on top. There's actually a rubber backer on top of the O-ring as well. I had these in my kit. I had to buy this separately, this little O-ring here. It's 015 is the O-ring size, but all three of these are ready to go back in, and actually the whole valve is ready to go back together, so I'm gonna jump right into that. Okay, and the first thing I'm gonna start with is putting these check valves back in. This is the 175 PSI valve. I'm going to put it in first. I'm going to get some petroleum jelly on the O-ring. I'm just going to snug these up with a crescent wrench, and I'll come back later with appropriate size socket and wrench them down snug. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and work my way through the rest of these fittings. I'm probably just going to speed this part of the video up. Alright, I'm not going to tighten any of the lock nuts on these. I'll do that once I get everything assembled onto the machine as far as the hard line goes, because I'm sure there'll be some angle adjustments necessary, but overall I'll put the caps, blue caps back on, keep this all sealed up. Got an O-ring for the suction going into the tank, and that wraps this valve assembly up. Real happy that we went through it, and now I know everything's clean and new, and I shouldn't have any leaks on any of the fittings with all the new O-rings I put on. We are moving right along here. Ran this through the ultrasonic cleaner just to get most of the gunk off, and then I zipped these loose with the impact outside. So we're going to tear it down inside, see what parts we need, and get some parts coming for this thing if we need anything. I have not taken this apart, I've just broken everything loose, so you're seeing it as I'm seeing it. Well, this is the loader control valve, so it controls the bucket lift and tilt. It's a 2-spool valve, meaning it's got 2 different independent controls. One's lift, one's tilt. I believe it has what you'd call power beyond, so hydraulic fluid pressurized fluid would flow through this valve and into the auxiliary hydraulic valve, which then returns back to the tank. And the auxiliary hydraulic runs if you want to put like a post hole digger on it or anything that's connects to those 2 lines that are on the end of the boom. This valve had some issues with the detent wanting to stick, where it was difficult to get it out of detent. It would pop real loud, so I suspect there's going to be some abnormal grooving in the spool where the probably spring-loaded ball bearing rides on. But we shall see here. This thing's still pretty hot. I just pulled it out of the tank. Spring. Not sure exactly what that is just yet. I'll do some research on that. Maybe that's a loader check? I'm not sure. Okay. Under this one, there's something down in there. It was just sitting like that. Seems kind of odd. I'm not so sure about that, if that's correct or not. Okay. So lucky I checked all these Phillips and they were just barely snug. But I can tell that someone's been on a few of these, so I think this has been taken apart before. Okay, so that's going to pull the whole spool out. Maybe. It's kind of stuck right there. comes. Oh. All right. Let me get you up in the picture what I got here. This piece seemed to be stuck on there, but I think it's because there's a spring and a ball in there, and I think I pulled it over the detent area. There's some rust. Oh yeah, there's definitely some grooving on this shaft. All right, so let's see. Some grooving there. Okay. Yep, there's the ball. Some gunk in there. This is holding the spring in. I'll set that aside for now. We'll deal with that later. Some okay, and this should be the pressure relief, so it's going to set the high pressure cutoff, probably 20. I think this one's 2,500 or 3,000 psi, somewhere in there. I'm going to see if I need to bring that back out and see if I can get that broken loose. Bring it back. Okay, I was able to zip this pressure valve out real easily with a deep socket, and went ahead and put 2 new O-rings on it. This is similar to one of the other pieces, and there's a O-ring, then a backing ring, O-ring, a backing ring. These are 90 durometer, so they're a little bit stiffer than your normal O-ring. I ordered these. The size, let's see, one is an 015. That's probably that's the smaller one, and the bigger one is an 017, and it does say that right on the parts diagram. So I'm going to set that aside. I got this cleaned up off camera. I'm going to bring my attention back to the detent mechanism. This is where the float part of the loader operates. You move it, pull the lever all the way in one direction, and it detents and holds there. I've cleaned this up some, but I want to show you the wear that is present, because it was all gummed up, which I guess this is a common issue on this machine and the 1845C. You take these little bolts, there's a spring and a ball bearing inside. Get it out of there. There you go. And this was all gunked up. I cleaned it so you could see. And there's one on each side. I'll take the other one loose. It's a little overkill for that. Okay, springs down in there. And then now you can easily pull this. And the ball's right on this end area, and the detent part is hidden down in there, and I'll zip this off so you can see that. It's got Allen, and I took this loose earlier. This is how it's assembled. Washer, spring, and there's this cup, and then this is the actual shaft that causes most everyone trouble. It's the part that screws in here, and there's a little O-ring. But if you can see it, there's some grooves where the balls have worn in and someone's rotated it to a different position in the past. But what happens, or how this works, is you got your spring-loaded ball. Let me set that valve down. Okay, we got our spring and our ball here, and it's sliding up and down here when you're raising and lowering the boom, and then when you go in the float, you got the ball spring compresses and the ball goes right in that groove, holds your bucket in the float position, and then you have to move it the other direction to compress the spring and get it up back on the other side. But this whole assembly starts to get full of dust and mud and just junk, and it doesn't want to operate correctly. This one had an issue with, once you got it in the detent, it was very difficult to get it back out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this grooving just yet, but I just want to show you how that worked and what issue you're normally going to see with it. Oh, and if you're luckier than me, you can rotate this a little bit, potentially 180, and get it on a better position, better surface, and maybe use some Loctite to keep it in that position, because you're probably not going to be bottoming on your thread. I'm going to set that aside for now and worry about that later. I am ready to start assembling the rest of this valve, however. So I've been, this is where some wear was from the O-ring that seals this spool. It's exposed to elements on one side, and it's got a little bit of scoring, but I took some 400 grit sandpaper to both of them, and I got them smooth enough where I don't think it's going to be an issue. And I'll show you the seals I took out of this valve block. So there's one on each side for each spool. There's a little groove down in the block, and I just took a pick and got it out of the groove. It's kind of hard to see. But that's what seals the oil from coming out each end. I've been waiting on these O-rings. I think these are 70 durometer from what they feel like. I think I went ahead and I got some 90s I think I'm going to use instead. The seal number for that, I bought a whole pack off of McMaster. These are dash number is 114. That will be the replacement. So they are a little bit stiffer, but the stiffness will, well, the hardness, I guess, it won't abrade as fast, but it's probably more likely to seep a little bit. I'm hoping that this will allow it to last a little longer. You know, you can't feel this or catch any of it, so this wear isn't significant, but it is there. But I don't believe it's enough to need to replace this valve block. And if it seeps just a teeny bit, it's not the end of the world. So we can go ahead and install 4 new O-rings. Okay, so you can see those in there. Right there they are. All right, I got all these fittings, got new O-rings on all of them. Just curious how tight that actually makes it. That's pretty good. So I realized, remember this piece we took out? Goes right there. Found out that is an orifice. We forgot to put that in. Goes just like that. Upside down. This groove goes up. And these are indeed load checks. They're check valves. The way I understand how they work is you got a load of dirt in your bucket, and as you start to lift it more, so if you have your lever stationary, between the time where you're giving it enough pressure to actually lift, that transition zone, it keeps it from falling a little bit before it starts to lift again. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think I can run these down too. Right. Keep on going here. Okay. Now, this is the Power Beyond It goes to the pressure going into the valve. I think it'd be going in here, and this would be continuing on to the auxiliary foot pedal valve. And obviously we got some O-rings we need to replace here. So let me look the sizes of those up. Alright, I had to run and get this O-ring. We didn't have it in my universal kit. It's a -18. I ended up getting it from Case. So we're ready to put this Power Beyond fitting in now. Adjust the position of that once I get it on the machine. Let's see. Now, we're ready to put the pressure relief back in. Oh, the big news I have, spent some time looking into this, replacing this detent. Turns out you can still buy this whole thing as a kit if you want to spend about $500. And some of you guys have been around my channel a while, you know I do some machining. So I bought a piece of 4140 and made an exact duplicate. 5/16 24 thread on the bottom. I ground a high-speed tool to make the profile. I couldn't make the Allen, so I just slotted it, which will work just fine. It's just to screw it in. Got the O-ring groove. All the dimensions are within the thousandths or so, plenty close for what it is. Then I heat treated and tempered it. It should be just as good, if not better, than the original. And already checked it. Threads in nice. Super happy with that. Turns out this original one actually, when you roll it, it's got a little bit of wobble to it, where my one I made does not. So I don't know how that got tweaked, but it is a little bit. So yeah, I'm real stoked about how that turned out. The piece of 4140 was like less than $2, so definitely worth my time on the lathe. It took me about 2-3 hours plus the heat treating. I use the lathe a decent amount, but I'm not super fast and I didn't want to mess it up, so turned out great. So I got my spool valve here set up on the Bridgeport. And as I mentioned, these ends of these spools where the clevis pins go through are egg-shaped. Original size was 1/4 inch. 5/16 would have been too much to take out, so I bought these 7mm pins, which kind of sits between the two. They had a 7mm end mill I ordered. I waited 15 days because it got lost in the postal service. But you can see this doesn't come out. I got this centered in the hole, clamped down, and I'm gonna carefully bring this end mill through and clean up that hole, hopefully, where I can use that oversized pin. So get the rotary phase converter kicked on here. I got the valve spools back inside, and I'm going to show you the pin that I'm going to use versus the original. The hole even didn't completely clean up, but for the most part it did. And very little slack. Before with this other pin there was all kinds of play. It was mainly worn this away, but I feel a lot better than with that. And then I'll have to also ream out the piece that goes on here, but it's pretty worn as well. Not as bad as the spool was, but it's got a lot of slop in it, where this is almost goes through the way it is, so it won't take much to get that figured out. All right, with those holes bored out, we're finally ready to get these spools installed. I did have to remove the O-rings that I put new in on this side, because when we feed the spool in, the lands of this spool is going to hit the O-ring and it's not going to want to go past. So what we're going to do is feed it in, and there's enough of a bevel here that it'll go past the O-ring on this side, and then bring it in a little too far, and then put the O-ring in and then move it back again. There's a taper on this side, so we'll get some good lubrication on the front part of this valve. I already lubricated the O-rings on this side, and we'll get this installed. Okay, well, like I said, we'll push it through. It'll be a little difficult. There we go. And now to get the back O-ring in, we'll pull it back enough to expose the O-ring groove. I grabbed another set of new O-rings. I had plenty of these. Alright, that's in. Now I should be able to push the back side. There we go. Alright, there we have it. Let's do the second spool. And so it comes up against that back O-ring, or front O-ring actually. Push it past. There we go. And we'll expose the O-ring groove. Okay. And then it should push back. There. All right. Spools are in. All right, we're going to get the return detent spring on the back of these put on. So this one is just a centering spring. Calls for some medium strength Loctite on the threads. Good. Now, the part that I had to remachine. This also needs Loctite. Okay, I think it goes washer, spring, this cap, that. Almost forgot something, the O-ring. Alright, I went and grabbed this little screwdriver. Hopefully that'll make it much easier. Alright, I'm going to change the plans and try to turn the spool instead. And it worked. Go. Alright, now we can put the cap on. We'll put the detent, spring, and ball in after. The manual calls for this moly coat again. Now this is a molybdenum paste. It's made by DuPont. Not terribly expensive, $15, but this is kind of like an anti-friction paste. So I'm going to put a fair amount of this down in there before I drop the ball in. I think this is a pretty important step. I'm going to drop that ball down in there. I'm going to try to clean these threads up enough to get some Loctite on the cap that goes on here. And the manual does say to use some Loctite again on these threads. Yeah, way too much. Okay. Snug that down. And then do the exact same thing on the bottom side. Put some of this moly coat down in there. Drop the ball bearing in. Okay. All right. So that finishes up the float detent, and then this other one just has a cap that goes on. Okay, before I let you guys go, I'm just going to do a little test here. This should be the loader bucket tilt. Goes in and out. Returns nice and free. And then this should be the bucket raise. And then I'm going to see if I can get it in the float mode. There we go. So there's float. And there's neutral. So pretty happy. Well guys, I'm glad to have all those valves done. It was real tedious work. I know it's probably not super entertaining, but I'm hoping this will help someone out in the future. If you appreciate the work I'm doing, give me a thumbs up, and I love reading your comments. We'll see you on the next one.